Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today we're going to be talking about two new fragrances that have just been announced. One of them I'm going to be doing a first impression on, the other I'm just going to be talking about really quickly. So I did a This Week in Fragrance video 2-3 days ago is when I filmed that, and two big fragrances have been announced since I did that video. One of them is this one, the one I'll be doing a first impression on, Polo Red Eau de Parfum by Ralph Lauren, and this bottle I actually borrowed from Tommy at Studio Scent, so shout out to him. Thanks for lending me this bottle for this first impression. The other fragrance is a new Spicebomb by Viktor & Rolf. It is a new flanker to Night Vision. Yeah, so Spicebomb Night Vision Eau de Parfum. Oh boy, let's jump into this. Okay, so I don't have a bottle of Spicebomb Night Vision Eau de Parfum. The first Night Vision was not really well received by the fragrance community in general. Most people just wrote it off and said it was kind of like Spicebomb Invictus or something along those lines. Hopefully the Eau de Parfum is better. So here's some info from Viktor & Rolf about this fragrance. They say Spicebomb Night Vision Eau de Parfum is a fragrance for men that will turn heads with its intense, seductive, and mysterious aroma. Dial up the intensity with this masculine Oriental Fougere perfume, which unleashes an electric freshness of black spices, vibrant green aromatics, and the fiery warmth of incense. And yeah, it's hot out here. It's humid. So if I'm sweating, sorry. For those who have tried Spicebomb Night Vision Eau de Toilette, the new Eau de Parfum is a deeper, richer scent. Experience an explosion of fresh top notes with zesty lemon injecting a burst of freshness into spicy black pepper, chili, nutmeg, and clove. The cool initial impression develops into a green aromatic heart of clary sage, coriander, and mastic resin. Finally, this addictive perfume offers deep sensual base notes of smoky incense and rich fir balsam, which intensify the scent and leave a long-lasting and powerful trail. And about the bottle, they say as night falls, the iconic Spicebomb grenade bottle is reimagined in deep black glass with an electric green stripe. The most intense fragrance in the Spicebomb collection for men who desire something different. I guess we'll see about that one. If this is truly the most intense fragrance in the Spicebomb collection, then that means the performance here is going to be apocalyptic, because Spicebomb is a great performing fragrance, and Spicebomb Extreme also beast mode. Those fragrances last and last and last and last and project heavily. So if this one is somehow more intense, and by that I'm talking about performance, this would be a monster. And as far as men who desire something different, let's all hope they're telling the truth with that one, because Night Vision Eau de Toilette wasn't really that different. Also really not that spice-bomby. Now let me read off the notes for you guys. There are a bunch of them. It's got a top of grapefruit, green apple, lemon, black pepper, chili, nutmeg, clove, and cardamom. So that's a lot going on. There are a lot of spices there, and also some fruits for sweetness. In the mid, rosemary, clary sage, coriander, mastic resin, lavender, and peppermint. So even more spices, some herbs in there as well. And then in the base, patchouli, cedarwood, pistachio, frankincense, Peru balsam, fir balsam, labdanum, and benzoin. That's a bunch. So that is 22 notes in the new Spicebomb Night Vision Eau de Parfum. Let's hope it's better than the EDT was. Now let's finally talk about this Polo Red Eau de Parfum. Now, this is basically first impression. I have only given this one full wearing from opening to dry down. I did take notes on it as I wore it the first time, so I could have a little more information for you here than a usual first impression video. And also I'll show you the presentation here really quickly. So here's the presentation. Got the name of the house, name of the fragrance, size, and concentration right here on the front. It's gonna look the same as pretty much any of the Polo boxes, especially the ones in the red line here. Eau de Parfum at the top of the box, ingredients on the back, and then you're gonna find your batch code on the bottom. And here's your bottle, your typical Polo bottle. This one is see-through with a little silver Polo player there on the front. It has an RL stamped into the top of the cap for Ralph Lauren. On a lot of Polo bottles you won't have that, but on this one you do. And then on the bottom you're going to find your batch code. And batch code for this one is 38T201U. And one thing I'll say about the presentation is in the photos for this one. It actually looks a lot better online. It looks like it's got more sparkle to it. When you actually have it in your hand, it's kind of just like a dull, translucent red. It looks okay, but just not anywhere near as good as the photos, the promotional photos make it look. Another funny thing about this fragrance, Tommy from Studio Scents, he paid full retail for this. He bought it from Sephora. This is already at Discounters. Yeah, already. This only popped up online a couple days ago. You can already buy it at Fragrance Buy for like $65 roundabout. Yeah, so sorry, Tommy. This one opens up pretty pleasant. There's red grapefruit, red. They always love to do that with this fragrance line. They'll be like, oh, it has red ginger and red grapefruit and red basically every note that's in the fragrance. They think somehow that it, you know, makes it sound livelier, I guess, but red grapefruit and cranberry and ginger in the top of this fragrance. So you do pick up all those notes. It's pleasant in that typical designer way where ginger helps make citrus pop. The cranberry adds a nice little tart touch, but it's not really heavy. You don't get a ton of cranberry. I almost said grapefruit. You don't get a ton of cranberry. There are other fragrances in the Polo Red line that do have much more cranberry than this one does off the top. Now, you may expect that because this is an eau de parfum, so you may think, well, it's an EDP, so what they're gonna do is they're gonna try to make it really rich, deep. You know, it's gonna have a lot of depth. It's really gonna be a great night out fragrance. They're gonna take that kind of path, so you may be able to forgive the cranberry being dialed back a bit. So the opening is pretty pleasant. Like I said, it's my favorite part of the scent, actually. I like the cranberry mixing in with the grapefruit and the ginger. It's hard to screw that up, really. About 5 minutes in, that opening that I do like pretty much is gone. The grapefruit starts to fade away, goes into the background, and eventually just leaves the fragrance completely. The cranberry lingers, but it's not really heavy. So it's just this little bit of tart, fruity sweetness that you pick up as the fragrance dries down, but it kind of moves to the background. Then Polo Red Eau de Parfum starts to go down a spicy, sweet, warm path. Pretty much stays that way the rest of the fragrance's life, and it does get, for lack of a better term, pretty generic. So it ends up coming across like a fragrance that I've smelled the DNA of 100 different times. That's how it comes across to me. It's not that it's unpleasant, it's just not really anything new. Like I mentioned, you've got cranberry giving this little fruity tinge, this little tartness, little touch of it. You've got some resins, which is where you're gonna get that warmth and sweetness, and there's a little bit of powdery lavender, but it's pretty boring. Once you hit the dry down, basically warm, modern woods. That's how it comes across. So something like tonka and amber woods, that's how it smells. Those, neither one are official notes in this fragrance, but it definitely smells like there's tonka in here to me. And in the dry down, the gaiac wood and cedar wood don't actually smell like gaiac wood or cedar wood. It smells more like, again, something like amber wood, just a warm, nondescript, sweet, sort of modern woodiness. There's also musk in here in the dry down, but just a little tiny touch. For the most part, it smells like it's following the current trend of modern men's scents, where you just go for ultimate mass appeal with warm, sweet something and modern woodiness. That's about it. Little touch of cranberry helps set it apart slightly in the opening and mid, but not that much. So whereas Red Rush, the flanker that came out in 2018, is more like a boring, uninspired summertime, springtime, daytime fragrance, this one is like a boring, uninspired, nighttime, spring and fall fragrance, basically. For me, with this line, the Eau de Parfum is not worth retail. 65 bucks, I still wouldn't pay that much for it. Probably like a $35 fragrance in that range would be okay. In the red line, I feel like these two are probably your best bets. Red Extreme and Red Intense. These two are probably my favorites from this line. So Red Extreme is gonna go a little bit darker. It's gonna have more of a focus on coffee. There's also blood orange in here and ebony woods, but this one basically is gonna be the Polo Red that focuses more on coffee and being a little bit of a darker scent, whereas Intense here is going to focus more on that cranberry. So this one is going to give you a lot more of the cranberry. It's going to make it a much more prominent note off the top than the Eau de Parfum does. And there's also a little bit of additional citrus in this one as well. Just helps it kind of pop, helps it stand out a little bit more. So those two are the ones I think are the best right now in the Polo Red line, personally. Okay, so all this being said, yeah, I think it's not really an inspiring fragrance. I don't think that they put a huge amount of thought into the fragrance and trying to make it stand apart, trying to make it kind of do its own thing, forge its own path. I don't think they did that, but it doesn't smell offensive. It doesn't smell bad. It is definitely pleasant. It could definitely pull in a compliment or two. It's just not anything I think that's, like I said, gonna set you apart really. Kind of one of those fragrances that fades into the background and melds with all these other releases that have come out over the past, 5 years or so. It's almost like they phoned it in, It was just like they phoned in Red Rush and they phoned in this one too, but what are you gonna do? Now, as far as performance goes, I've only worn it one time, so I can't really give you a definitive, it's weak, it's strong, it's this, it's that. I can tell you my initial impressions, which are the first 45 minutes to an hour or so. It seems like the projection is pretty good, but then it settles down quite quickly. That's how it came across to me. And I sprayed it on my hand here, a solid 4 sprays, and I can't smell it now. I sprayed it on about 5-6 hours ago, and it's gone, like gone. It is really humid today, and I have been outside a decent amount in the yard and everything, so it's possible that it, that caused it to evaporate quicker than usual, but performance doesn't seem great. So that's how the performance has been for me with this initial wearing. Take that with a grain of salt, but not great performance-wise. Not what I would call terrible, but definitely not great. As far as seasons, spring or fall time. As far as occasions, for me, more casual type of fragrance. You could wear it to the office, but it's not really what I'd consider an office fragrance. I wouldn't wear it formally. It could be a potential date night fragrance because, again, it does have that warm, spicy, sweet nature, which typically works pretty well in date situations. As far as a club fragrance goes, it doesn't really have the performance that I can tell from this first wearing that I would want in a club type setting. So that's the places I would use that one. As far as day or night, it leans a little bit toward nighttime because of that sweet spiciness that I've been talking about. So, leans just barely a little bit toward nighttime, but you could wear it during the day just as easily. And it is a little bit youthful because of the way the sweetness comes across in this one, which, as I've said a number of times, is basically just how it's come across in, 100 different fragrances over the past 5 years. If you smell it when you get through the mid and the dry down, you'll know what I'm talking about. So those are my first impressions on this one. I know it was a lot of information for first impression, but like I said, I took notes on this throughout the day on my phone. It's pleasant, but for me, a little bit boring. So there we go. If you smell this one, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Again, in my opinion, these two probably your best bet as far as this line is concerned, at least as far as getting something that's a little bit unique at least. If you smelled that one, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. This one, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for all your support, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. Stay safe out there, guys.